This is Behind the Mic with AudioFile magazine, where the subjects are audiobooks and the actors who narrate them. I'm Joe Reed, and with me, the founder of AudioFile, Robin Whitten. Hello, Robin.
Hello, Joe. It's lovely to be back together and have an opportunity to explore some audiobooks that we really love.
And are we ever today? Because this is a very, very exciting show for me. So share the theme.
All right. The theme is Phillip Pullman's World, and we are celebrating the recent release of The Rose Field, which is the Book of Dust, Volume 3 by Phillip Pullman and read by Michael Sheen. So that is a new book that has just been released, and that's a very exciting thing for listeners who have followed Pullman's extraordinary fantasy.
And it's the conclusion.
It is.
It brings the story to an end, according to Pullman.
Well, it has taken a double trilogy to get to this point, and we started in, believe it or not, 1999
Oh my goodness.
with The Golden Compass, which was the first book in Philip Pullman's first trilogy of his dark materials.
Okay, so before we go on, why don't you tell us a little bit about the world that Philip Pullman has created?
Yes, well, it's such an extraordinary world, but it basically follows the story of Lyra Silvertongue and her demon, Pantalaimon, who in the 6 books are seen at different points in their lives. In the beginning, we see Lyra as a young girl living at an Oxford college, Jordan College, among scholars in a world that is sort of like our world, but somewhat a steampunk world with science, technology, extraordinary beasts, and characters of all kinds.
Let me interrupt you just for 1 second because I think we need to explain what a demon is, because that is so key to this world. And that is every human is psychically connected to a visible animal, and that is his or her demon, and they can talk and talk back, and they interact, and it's almost like one's soul, and the animal is a visible representation of one's soul.
Yes, that's a great explanation, and what is quite wonderful in the early books is that for younger people, the demons can change. They can change shape and form, but as adults, they are fixed. So it's a fascinating thing if you look at the whole thing of just demons, but there are there are so many aspects to this story, and it is truly an epic fantasy of major proportions that listeners have been involved in, for more than 25 years here. And interestingly, the rose field is the end of the second trilogy, and Lyra is now I think she's in her 20s, but she's out of college as she still is um, has her demon, who is a now fixed as a pine marten, and whose name is Pantalaimon. And there are sort of glorious and terrifying adventures that they have throughout the rose field, and we have an amazing storyteller in Michael Sheen who takes us there.
We do, and we should also say that Lyra is the central character because she is somebody who has the ability she's basically saving the world as they know it. That's her role.
Absolutely, and that's quite a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, she's a kid. Um, so let's talk about the first trilogy, which is his Dark Materials, and that came out as a full cast audiobook.
That's right, and in 1999, that was quite extraordinary to have a full cast recording, and I think that's one of the things that I want to focus on today is the fact that we have some extraordinary storytelling throughout the double trilogy, but there are very differing styles. And this first trilogy of this Dark Materials came out with a full cast. It was done really with, I mean, I don't even know how many actors, but there were a lot of actors, and it was unusual at that time to do a full cast, unabridged, word for word production of a book with so many actors.
I agree, and Phillip Pullman actually is the narrator
Yes.
who gives the narrative voice, and boy, is he blessed with the ability to do that. He is wonderful.
He really is. I mean, he is, obviously, he knows the story, but he gives us such a sense of a wise storyteller and a sage without, just it seems so natural. And then some extremely, talented narrators who took part in those cast recordings. This has always been I will say, if someone asks me my favorite audiobook, I will say The Golden Compass with the full cast.
Oh, yeah, I don't hesitate. I think it's a perfect audiobook. It's the only one I will listen to again. I'd never, ever re-listen. I reread all the time, but I never re-listen, with the single exception
Oh,
of The
how
Golden
very
Compass.
interesting. Well, I re-listen quite often, and it's sort of my go-to recording for recommending someone starting audiobooks, and it's a brilliant introduction. And, since that came out, interestingly, these Pullman books have been made into a feature film. There's been a streaming series on HBO and BBC, and that created even more fans for the series. And in the most recent of the streaming series, the actress Ruth Wilson played the crucial role of Mrs. Coulter, who is actually Lyra's mother. What is interesting is that somewhere along the way, the publishers decided to release another version of those 3 early books with a single voice. And so Ruth Wilson, narrates those 3 books in recent releases. It seems very odd to me because you have something so perfect then to have a re-release.
I completely agree. She's fine, but I'm left with the question, why? It seems unnecessary. It's like, why would you remake Casablanca?
So, they do exist, the recordings exist, and she's perfectly fine, but there isn't sort of the depth, I think, the amazing depth and emotional connection that each of the narrators have in the cast versions.
I agree, because Joanna Wyatt voices Lyra in all 3 books, in The Golden Compass, The Subtle Knife, and The Amber Spyglass, in that first trilogy, and I could not think of a more perfect Lyra. She is magnificent.
Truly.
The tone in her voice, her ability to convey the emotions of this young girl who is, we hear her growing up. I just tip my hat to her. It's fabulous.
All right, so let's take a minute to just listen to a bit of, a sample from the full cast. And I just wanted to say that one of the other cast members who was so important in the original trilogy, in addition to Joanna Wyatt, is Rupert Degas, who is one of our golden voices. So the first time I probably ever heard him was as Pantalaimon.
All right, here we go. This is The Golden Compass with the full cast. You'll hear Philip Pullman as the narrator, Joanna Wyatt as Lyra, and Rupert Degas as Pantalaimon.
Then he took a pencil from his pocket, stirred the wine until the powder had dissolved, and replaced the stopper. His demon gave a soft, brief squawk. The master replied in an undertone, and looked around with his hooded, clouded eyes before leaving through the door he'd come in by. Lyra whispered,
"Did you see that, Ben?"
Of course I did. Now hurry up before the steward comes.
but as he spoke there came the sound of a bell ringing once from the far end of the hall.
"That's the steward's bell. I thought we had more time than that."
These books are so deeply textured, and I think that full cast really gives the sense of the worlds that are built, the expanse of that creation of Pullman's. I mean, it is so well suited to this, I think.
Yes, it was just a brilliant concept in 1999 and has stood the test of time with so many different full cast recordings. It's very interesting, but such a rich experience.
Well, we now have the second trilogy, The Book of Dust, and they took a different approach with these because let's face it, it takes a lot of money to do a full cast. And the books are La Belle Sauvage, The Secret Commonwealth, and finally The Rosefield, which just came out. And they're all narrated by Michael Sheen.
Exactly, and what's interesting, of course, is that well, a lot of Michael Sheen's work is with full cast recordings, which
Yeah,
we've heard.
yeah,
So, but
many.
here he is a single voice.
Maybe because enough time has passed, I'm fine with his narration. I actually like it a lot. If you're going to have one narrator, Michael Sheen knows his way around a microphone.
Oh, absolutely, and he really I think has spent time really thinking about the characters
I agree.
and investing a different level of emotionality into them. So it's really quite fabulous. And yes, I agree. I miss the full cast, but he is, the Book of Dust and the Belle Sauvage, that they, really wonderfully done and, thrilling adventures for listeners.
I agree. And I'm listening to the Rosefield now, and I am captivated by it. I stayed up way too late listening. That, yeah.
That is so interesting because I had just read someone else saying how much these stories just grab you and don't let you go. And we listen all the time. So having that happen to both of us and is really, speaks very highly of this amazing series.
Well, I think the pacing of Philip Pullman's writing is pretty extraordinary. It's very gripping, and I think Michael Sheen really, really gets it. It's almost like he becomes one with the text.
Mm. And, and yet these memorable characters. There's a wonderful I mean, there are new creatures in the Rosefield. I mean, there were so many creatures in all of the other books, but we have these griffins, which are quite fantastic in the Rosefield.
I always loved griffins. From medieval times, I've always really had a hankering for griffins.
Well, the number of invented creatures that Pullman has put in these stories is just amazing. In fact, that would be interesting all by itself. Anyway, we can't go on too much, but we do certainly love both styles. The Rosefield is the brand new story. I think that you could probably just drop into this one without the others.
Oh, no, 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 no.
Mm.
No, I disagree. I think the Rosefield is absolutely a companion to the Secret Commonwealth. I think one flows absolutely into the
Mm.
other.
Well, I thought there was a quite a bit of good, backstory that was being inserted because I didn't quite remember all the details of, the Commonwealth, and so I was like, Where are we?" And so I thought there was a quite a bit of good backstory in it. But, of course, knowing all the players and where we are in this
Yeah, I
story.
mean, you had to listen. Exactly. I mean, so you came into
Yes.
it prepared. I really see them as linked novels. But what I find so interesting is that The Secret Commonwealth and The Rosefield, they're still seen as novels for young readers, which I'm kind of surprised about. Not that young readers couldn't enjoy it, but they seem much more adult than the other books to me.
Hmm. Well, I mean, I think that's what the brilliance of Pullman's world is truly is that you can take it on so many different levels. The philosophical exploration of growing up and finding out about ourselves, is something that at any age you can explore that, but you can also explore it from just being a young person and having the adventures that Lyra and Pandalimon do.
But and it's also very different because we find out, I don't think I'm giving much away, in the Secret Commonwealth, right in the beginning of the book, that Pantalaimon and Lyra are estranged, which for those of us who read the first trilogy and listened to La Belle Sauvage, it's shocking.
Yes. Yes. But the good thing is, never fear, they are back together. They are seeking each other at the beginning of the Rose Field and do get back together. So that will help people get over the trauma of the Secret Commonwealth.
Well, why don't we listen to a little bit of the Rose Field? Why don't you set this up?
This is a little bit of Lyra at this point is not with Pantalaimon, but she is looking for him. So she's getting a little bit of news from a woman named Nehuda that she meets.
All right. This is The Rose Field. It's the Book of Dust, Book 3 by Phillip Pullman, read by Michael Sheen.
Then he took a pencil from his pocket, stirred the wine until the powder had dissolved, and replaced the stopper. His demon gave a soft, brief squawk. The master replied in an undertone and looked around with his hooded, clouded eyes before leaving through the door he'd come in by. Lyra whispered,
Did you see that, Ben? Of course I did. Now hurry up before the steward comes.
but as he spoke there came the sound of a bell ringing once from the far end of the hall.
That's the steward's bell. I thought we had more time than that.
He is so wonderful with accents, and so his characterizations are just wonderful. And I mentioned his pacing, which is really, really fabulous, and that informs that narrative voice, which I think is spot on.
It's very fun to see this extraordinary performance by Michael Sheen.
Well, I'm glad you brought these books up. I'm driving to New York tomorrow, so I'm going to listen to the rest of the Rose Field, and it makes me happy.
Yeah, I don't think you will be disappointed. So
Oh, I know I won't be.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Robin. I want to remind people that this Friday there's a bonus edition of Behind the Mic. Publisher Michelle Cobb speaks with Golden Voice and 9-time Audie winner, narrator January Lavoie, about the book Sharp Force, which is the most recent entry in Patricia Cornwell's Case Scarpetta series. January shares what it's like to revisit the voice of this forensic pathologist, discusses how she keeps character voices consistent from book to book, and how she balances narrating technical passages while keeping the pace thrilling for listeners. That's this Friday, a bonus edition of Behind the Mic. Don't miss it. Support for today's episode of Behind the Mic comes from Harper's Celebrate, publisher of Dear Friend, daily love notes for contemplation, connection, and clarity. Available everywhere you listen to your audiobooks. That is Harper's Celebrate. Behind the Mic is produced by Jessica Lockhart, Robin Whitten, Michelle Cobb, Stephen Cummings, Leslie Fine, Alan Minskoff, Alex Ritchie, Laura Rossi, and Kendra Winchester are our contributors. Jennifer Dow and Coco McCracken are our editors, and the music is William Ross Chernoff's Nomads 4-Way. And I'm your host, Joe Reed. Good listening.